pjnet.tv. Tuesday night, September the 1st, brand new month, and we have a brand new program for you. We've got Ben Cooper standing by in our green room. We have a chat room waiting to hear him. We are recording and streaming live to 9 social media destinations. We'll switch to Studio 8 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, good evening and welcome to pjnet.tv. I am your host, Coach Prasic. I am the luckiest guy on earth to be doing exactly what we do here at pjnet.tv. Now, on the first Tuesday of each month, Ben Cooper. Now, who is that? Well, he's an award-winning author. He is a cancer survivor. He is a born-again believer in Christ. He's a member of the PJNet family, and he is going to be sharing with us, I guess this is his sort of preemptive Halloween theme. He is going to be sharing with us all things spider. Ben, what inspired you to bring spiders on the stage?
Well, it's part of what's in my book when one of the items that I've written on, and I've got some questions for you. Now, Coach, you said you are an expert in, is that arachnophobia or just arachnids?
Arachnophobia is fear of arachnid.
Right. I don't know if you have fear of them, that's why you've studied them, or they don't bother you. Because
I don't fear the dead ones, and that's what they are if they get around me.
There's two types of people, and most of them fall on the side of they don't like spiders and they don't want them anywhere around, and they are beneficial. Some of them are just down creepy. But I want to ask you, you said you know a little bit. Do you know why spiders, now this might win you a lot of money in a game show contest. I'm quoting you on that.
I'll share it with you.
Do you know why most spider webs are 4 to 6 feet off the ground?
I would assume that optimizes the chance that they will catch their prey but not be disturbed by ordinary animals that they would not consider prey, raccoons, possums, small animals.
That's a good answer, but that's not the answer that I have. That's because most human faces are 4 to 6 feet off the ground, and when you're walking out in the woods, spider webs are out there, and our faces are usually used to find them.
Oh, I thought spider webs were a tutorial on how to do kung fu. You hit a spider web, all of a sudden your arms are going everywhere.
One of the things that spurred me on writing and including spiders in All Nature Sings is one of the main jobs that I had to do was I had to walk on people's property, farm property, forested ground. One specific farm, we were looking at the woods, and he said he recently bought the property, and he said there's a pond on here somewhere. So we were trekking through his acreage, and I swear each of us walked face first into probably 5 to 6 spider webs each, to where when you walk into them, it's usually about a half a step. You wished you see them, and you it was, and there are some poisonous ones around, and you don't want whatever dead bugs that might have been in there. It just it's just not a good feeling. But this happened over and over and over again, and we just was commenting back and forth. And I told the guy, I says, I'm writing a book, and I think I'm going to include this in there. But I'm going to ask you in a minute to bring that spider web photo back up, because it's an amazing piece of God's creation, how that's built. It's one spider, but the one spider spins multiple silks. If you look at the heavy lines heading in towards the center of that spider web, and the closer you get to the center, the heavier the lines are, and it's beneficial that there's dewdrop on the silks. But the outside, one of the main ones is the support webs, or the support silks. They're constructed a little bit differently, and they're not sticky as the ones that are in the center, that are networked together like in a gridiron spot or spacing. And so there's the structural integrity silks, and then there's the sticky silks that's used to catch those flies and sometimes human faces and whatever else walks or flies into the path. And then yet there's another silk that the spider has that wraps its prey once caught and preserves it and encases it and keeps it safe until it needs it for food. So there's one spider but multiple silks, and those silks come from the lower abdomen from different glands, and it knows which ones. It's amazing to see.
So it has 3 different silk glands.
It has different silk glands, yes.
Really?
For the different purposes.
Now, see, I didn't know this.
All the silks are not the same. They're not the same.
So you've got to frame up you first build the frame out of one silk, and then you build the interior, the web itself that is attached to the frame, and then the last silk is for capturing the prey and cocooning it, sort of, and preserving it and protecting it and hiding it from other varmints that might want to eat it too.
Right. And it preserves it, stores it, it jars it, so, entombs it, so to speak.
Yeah, it mummifies it.
Right. To preserve, because it needs the fluids in it. It doesn't need the dry insect body. It wants the fluids in that.
The protein,
for its life giving source. So it's very interesting. And if you look at that, it reminds me of some of the older generation. Some still do it, but quilters start off and you see a beautiful quilt that's made, but it's imagined in the quilter's mind what that pattern is, and they have to stick to that pattern to make it look good. The side that we look at that might be real fancy with patches isn't what the detail is. You flip it over and you see all those stitches that are just harmonically put together. They're harmonized. They're
do they use the Fibonacci sequence?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tapestry of stitches that when you judge actually quilts, you flip them over. You don't look at the very picturesque side. The judges flip them over and look at the stitching, because that's where the real
there I can preach a sermon there. There's what's on the outside can look good, but what's on the inside may be rotten to the core.
Right. So looking at these, it's interesting because a lot of people photograph, and I want to give credit to Juan that I borrowed. I asked permission to borrow his photo because my photo wasn't near as detailed as his that I posted a couple days ago on Facebook, and I said, I'm going to use this. It just had the support. Maybe it was just the start of a good web, but it just had some of the support threads or silks that was there. But you always want to probably see the center, the bullseye of that web is where that spider hangs out. And it knows exactly what direction, based on the tension, the tweaking, the vibrations of which strand. All those strands focus into the center, so it knows where to run out, what direction to run out and capture its prey before it can get loose. If if it's quick enough. And as they kind of stick and hang up there, that spider will dart out of that center hole, and it waits in there waiting for a vibration to know that it's got something in its web.
And geometrically, you cannot move any portion of a spider web without moving the entire web.
It's like throwing a pebble into the water, and the waves will eventually reach the other end. The spider web is much smaller, but based on the size of the spider. Now, there's some big spiders. The biggest one that I've physically ever had to capture was probably 5 inches across.
Yeah.
That was a Fisher spider. They look way more threatening than what they actually are. They're interesting, but I don't like them inside, and I don't like them about 4 to 6 feet high where I find them with my face. But otherwise, my barn is a really good source for spider webs because they have lots of places to hide and to build inside of my barn. But as I was writing and thinking about this, it's one spider and many silks. And it reminded me of in 1 Corinthians where there's one God, there's one Spirit, but that one Spirit provides many gifts to the believers. And if you bear with me, I want to read 1 Corinthians 12, 4 through 7. Now there are a variety of gifts, but the same Spirit, and there are a variety of service, but the same Lord, and there are a variety of activities, but the same God who empowers them all in everyone. To each is given the manifestation of the Spirit for the common good. One God, one body, one Spirit, but a multitude of gifts given out. And a believer can have more than one gift. They don't need to have all 7 and think, well, I'm missing a gift and I'm inadequate. No, you could have one and still be inadequate because you're not using that gift to its fullest intention that God gave it to you. So a lot of people get hung up, well, I don't know what my spiritual gift is, but God gives every believer something. And to some degree, we all should have, as believers, the gift of hospitality. We should be kind to one another. We also have, not everybody's going to have the gift of administration where they know how everything is put together and planned. But God gives us gifts so that we can use them for the common good, but ultimately for His glory. And so that spider, as she's building that web and making that web, and I think it's true with all species, but after mating, the female kills the male spider. And so the female builds the web. The female, basically after mating, she's in charge and she takes care of everything. But she's using all the things, all those silks that God has given into her from those glands under her abdomen to be able to prepare the perfect home for her and for her offspring, and also the food provider, the source to catch food. And so many people just rip a cobweb down or a spider web down without stopping to think, man, it took a lot of time and energy for that spider to build that. And there's a spiritual side to that as well. A lot of people are building their foundation, putting that structural thread out, and then they start adding more to it by using the gifts. And it doesn't take a lot of effort for somebody to come along and just rip that down. And we can be discouraged. We can be frustrated, but God gives us those gifts to keep on going, and we just start over again, just like that spider, and build again and keep going for the common good is what 1 Corinthians said.
Ben, this spider web reminds me of a point I have taken from nature, is there are people that don't believe in God. And they will sometimes offer up an excuse saying, if there were still, if God were still working miracles today, like he was in biblical times, I might be inclined to believe. And I saw a bird's nest and I thought to myself, build one of these, but don't cheat by using your hands. And the spider web is very much the same thing. If we can put a man on the moon, we've done it. Yet I don't think we could build a spider web. If we did, we struggled, and the brain of a spider can't be bigger than a mustard seed. and who taught the spider to build the web? Who taught the spider that it needs to build a web? Who taught the spider the technique to build the web? And people do not see God. I think they don't want to see him.
That's some of the questions that Job asks. Our God defends himself when Job says, where are you, God? And he said, well, wait a minute. Look at all these examples in nature. Look at all these things that are out there. Who says that the water can only go so far? Who says that that was an interesting shot we had there, and over a drone view there, I think, of the eagle's nest.
Oh, we got a bunch of them.
I think Coach is playing with some new toys that he's got. But
we have new toys,
yeah. I really love one of the books that's in me that I haven't really fleshed out yet, and I've started writing some, is just God's defense to Job. Mm-hmm. Who says the water only goes this far? Or where a cloud starts and stops? And then all about some of the creation that he did, that he talks about in the last two chapters of Job. It's an amazing testimony that God gives of his own self in a comical way, that he's saying, where were you when I formed it all? Kind of the questions that you were asking. I wanted to take, I hope people, when they see something in nature, that they can stop and look at it, like JD does on his farm, in his ranch, like so many other people do when they go out and take pictures and say, oh, look at this pretty thing. But then look at the complexity of such a small thing like a spider that can make such beautiful things. That spider web really isn't beautiful until it's filled with morning dew and moisture, and then it captures our eye. Otherwise, it's almost transparent, and that's what makes it
a good trap.
Yeah, that's what makes it a good trap for a fly or my face as well.
Mm-hmm. Are you aware that the tensile strength of a spider web is stronger than steel?
Yeah. Pound for pound.
Yeah. Of course, I can't see us rendering a piece of steel that small, but nonetheless. But amazing, the delicacy and the strength, and then the miniature, the complexity in that little thing. And as you were talking about Job, I'm thinking of the sheer expanse of the universe. I mean, we measure this in thousands of light years, and we can't see very far. It is mind blowing, and if you see a picture, you know that there was a painter.
Right.
If you see a creation, there had to be a creator. Even Big Bang theories do not answer the question, well, where did the material come from that blew up?
Right.
Even if you buy into that theory, there is a God. There is a creator. Yep. Okay.
And we are from the spider, from the amoeba, all the way up to a complex critter such as us, or we talked a couple months ago, last month, about an elephant as big as an elephant. We are fearfully and wonderfully made, and our job is to get to know the Creator. That's our job.
He reveals himself to us in so many ways, and it is so majestic if you'll just stop for a moment and look around and get out of the city. When you stop and look at all the concrete skyscrapers, you see what man has built. You heard about the story where the two scientists figured out how to create life, and went to God and said, "Well, God, we don't need you anymore. We are now able to create life on our own." And God said, "Really? How do you do it?" He says, "Well, we take some some dirt." He said, "Well, what? Use your own dirt. I made that dirt." He said, Ben, this world is beautifully and wonderfully made. The majesty of this creation is inspiring to us all, and your musings, writings, and speakings testify to the glory of God, and we appreciate you, brother. And now next month, want to give a little forecast?
Yeah, a little. I will be. The plan is that I will be teaching. I know I'll be teaching a beekeeping class starting in 2 weeks on Monday nights, at the local college. But I will be teaching a writing class as well on Tuesday nights, and it will push me to get here in time. So we have somebody that will be filling in for me, and I hope everybody will enjoy to have Star Ayers come back. And she reluctantly said, "No, find somebody else." And then she said, "Let me pray about it." In less than 24 hours, she got back to me and she said, "You know what my devotion said? I need to do this." So Star will be filling in for me next week or next month. And I also wanted, most people will know, but I got a new job since the last time I was on here. I was signed a contract with Shine a Light Corporation, or Shine a Light Press, and so they are doing my children's series, Created Critters, and I hope to have the first book all done with illustrations into them by the end of the month. So it might be exciting to see what happens in 2 months from now when I'm on in November.
Well, we'll have a whole new Ben by then. And well, Ben, you are an inspiration. Oh, my wife was organizing the Eagle's Nest. It was quite a mess, and she says, "What's up with this honey?" I said, "Well, I keep peanut butter and jelly, and honey, and for snacks, and of course, the honey and peanut butter go real good together." I said, "You got to understand, one of our constituents is a honey stealer. He's a thief." Good stuff, Ben. Appreciate you sharing. Thanks for your insight. Can't wait till 2 months. You'll have some good news for us, but we're always glad to see you in the chat room, and thanks for sharing with us tonight.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
There we have it. Ben Cooper on pjnet.tv. He's here at the first Tuesday of every month, and he always has inspiration from nature. Always a pleasure. Great man of great wisdom, not great knowledge, but also great wisdom. Folks, in just a few minutes, at the bottom of the hour, Del Didway comes our way. And if you've read his blog today, get ready, brace yourself, strap it on, because you're going to be in for, a ride. And we're looking forward to that in just a few moments. Before I leave, asking 2 questions. 2. First, what is the boldest thing you've ever done for Jesus Christ? Number 2, when was that? It is my prayer that none of us will ever be satisfied with either answer.